James Holley from TaylorMade now joins us.
Yeah,
welcome to the show, man.
Me. Thank you.
James, thanks for doing this. I mean, we just had a full conversation. The last 2-3 minutes of our chat with Mac was about center shafted putters. And my first job in the golf industry, learning about center shafted putters back in 1990. But this is a whole new, I mean, how exciting is it for you to enter the world of zero torque now and having a win already on tour?
I think it's great. You know, it's a pretty popular thing out on tour right now. It was great to get a win with Brian Harmon. I gave him that putter Tuesday.
Really?
Put it in play, yep.
Wow.
It's good. I think with ours, it's a little different. We kind of went multi-material, so we have that heavy steel front and then aluminum back, so we were able to get that shaft closer to the face. So it's your hand sitting more of like a normal position that you're used to. Some of the onset putters look a little bit closed at address, and we worked really hard on that sole to get it to sit nice and kind of be able to be whatever lie position you normally would play it, it'll kind of rock and the face will stay square. So I think it's been great. You know, the tour usage has been great. We have 20 Spider wins, I think, since 2024. A lot of that's, you know, with Rory and Scotty and the success they've had.
Hard to pile up the wins when those two guys are rolling Spiders, Skulls?
Oh, my God, totally. And there's so much tech with these new line of putters. We have true path alignment, and I understand it's been reimagined here in Spider ZT. Is that right?
Yeah, we have this kind of milling in the front to kind of frame the ball really nice, and this back area and kind of the contrast between that silver front and the black back gives you a nice alignment at address. And like you talk about with pure roll, I think that's the biggest thing, especially in an onset putter, to get that added benefit of forward roll with our insert is really key. You know, you tend to play this onset putter, the zero torque putter, a little bit more forward in your stance. And with that onset, you tend to launch the ball a little bit high. So with our insert, you get consistent launch and distance control.
So is there a standard of a lower loft just on the face versus some of the other Spider lines, like right off the rack a few years ago, boom, boom? Is this a couple, like say, call it 2 degrees less loft?
Yeah, it's 2.5, so same as all the other Spiders. Okay. Just that insert, you know, gives you consistent launch and spin.
Because of the marketplace and where, you know, everybody's been going. Obviously, as soon as you say Spider, you start thinking immediate success. I mean, based on the top 2 players on the planet already, but it goes well beyond the top 2 players on the planet. I mean, I remember Jason Day, you know, when he was #1 in the world living and dying with his Spider. You know, obviously the biggest moment in Canadian golf history on Canadian soil was Nick Taylor with his Spider. So Spider has a certain tour standard in the consumer's mind is up here. And then there's like a little shift in the marketplace where people are thinking zero torque and all this stuff's kind of going on out there. So from start to finish, from a conceptual moment where it's like, okay, Spider's going to get in the zero torque game. Where does that start? How long from start to finish? How long have you been playing around with the concept, the ideas before we get this product?
Yeah, it's definitely over a year from kind of the initial thoughts of how we wanted to do it. And we didn't really want to, you know, just copy somebody else. We really wanted to put our spin on it and keep, you know, what everybody loves about Spider with the shape, the high MOI, the stability, our insert, of course. You know, it's a lot of testing, especially on tour. You know, we brought out 3 different sole designs for this to get it to sit right and tested it with a lot of different players to get it to look right. And I think, you know, that kind of just speaks to the success we've had so early on it, you know, getting a win with Brian Harmon and the LPGA with Heyron Rue. It's just all that process of kind of doing it right from the start. And, you know, we were a little bit late to the game, obviously, but, you know, we're all sold out online with our first initial run of it. So I think it's been great.
Which is so exciting. And I'm currently on TaylorMadeGolf.ca right now, and I'm seeing a couple different models. We have the Spider ZT, the ZT Counterbalance, and the ZT Long, which is great. What were some of the reasons to bring the long putter to marketplace?
Yeah, I think, you know, especially with tour adoption, it's a very popular thing, and especially with zero torque, right? The idea with zero torque is to have that face stay very square to your path, so the putter kind of almost putts itself. You don't have to manipulate that face. So especially in the long style putter, I think to me, especially for my game, like I've gravitated towards using that long putter with zero torque because you know, you're kind of split hands. You want the putter to do more of the work in that longer style. And then with that counterbalance, kind of same thing, right? You got the weight above your hands. The putter's kind of swinging itself almost.
Wow.
How long since the Scotty putter change? About 14 months?
Yeah,
was it?
Switched to Arnold Palmer last year, so that sounds about right.
No,
about 14 months and almost 14 wins practically.
I was just going to say, so I had to ask because, you know, it was a big story for us on Golf Talk Canada because I'm a huge Scotty Scheffler fan. because I love how he just simplifies the game, and everything looks so easy tee to green. There's no trap doors of swing changes or swing gurus. I love his quote. So I just show up at a tournament. I'm looking for a feel. When I find a feel on the range, I go play golf. I'm like, it's beautiful in its simplicity. But watching him through 23 turn like a 7-win season into, I think, a 2-win season that year was hard to watch. And then he makes the switch. And then basically the rest is Tiger-esque.
Yeah.
How gratifying knowing that it was the Spider. It is that simple to me. That Spider change that hits the switch.
Right, and I think the big thing with him, like you talk about keeping it simple, was that the true path on that Spider with the white and the long line is what really freed him up. He didn't feel like he had to line up the ball at all. He was more athletic over it. And yeah, I mean, it just kind of speaks towards, the technology and the product. And, when you have a guy that was hitting it that good and so close. And, he did win earlier in the year with Logan Olson putter. It's now part of the TaylorMade brand. But switching to that Spider, you could just see it kind of freed him up, and it's a lot of wins.
Yeah,
fun to watch.
And Scotty and Rory have sort of been tied now. I mean, they know each other well. They played in that match together last December, and now Rory's had an historic start to the season. What was it like for you to see the wins that Rory has had so far already this season, highlighted, of course, by tapping in with the Spider putter from 2 feet to make history?
Right, yeah, it's great. The Rory's, kind of the same thing, right? Was kind of in a blade and then was a big switch to the Spider, and I think was, kind of convinced Scotty to use the Spider and like, hey, I don't know why you're not using this. Pretty easy.
I think it's really a story, too, unlike the rest of their game, right? Now, we do see guys going to 7-wood, Scotty and Colin Morikawa's got a 9-wood in the bag one. So it's not that they're not doing it to make the game easier on themselves. But, obviously they play a lot of forged blades and things like that, things that you wouldn't see in our bags necessarily, ours being Adam and mine. Although we have tinkered with those things.
We have.
In the past we have. I
Briefly.
still have a P7 MBs because it's a left-handed blade. I still have those in and out on occasion, especially in the shorter irons. But where I was going with this, it's not that they can't be brilliant putters with a blade or something like that. It's about like increasing your chances and making the bad days better, isn't it?
Right. It's about the consistency. And especially like working with Tommy Fleetwood too, who's been a blade user. We switched him into a Spider at Hilton Head right after the Masters, and just to get that consistency with speed, on the longer putts and inside of 10 feet with the kind of bigger sole, bigger footprint to help you line up. Everybody's good days are going to be good, but it's, about how good your bad days are. And, we see that with like Scotty.
Right.
Totally. And now you mentioned earlier Brian Harman, he received the putter on Tuesday and he won that week. Do you see that often where guys put a putter in the bag immediately upon seeing it?
Not too often with Brian. He's been in an OSCP Spider, so kind of like a bigger one, right? He won the Open with that, and especially at the beginning part of the year, he was struggling a little bit. So we brought out kind of different variations of that putter at kind of different face angles and stuff. And, having this come out, we got some lefty parts in, right? Because he's a lefty, and we had one, and I had one built kind of to a little bit different specs. I wanted to try something a little different than what he was at, because if you do the same thing over and over again and you're not getting the results, you might as well change it up a little bit. So we went a little bit more upright on his. He battled a little bit of a right aim, and then he would kind of push the ball on line. And, like we're talking about, when your good days are good, he putted good. But when he was off a little bit, he struggled. So with the ZT and that sole, it really sets up really great. You can't really manipulate it, right? So he lined this up right out of the box really well, and then trusted it. For him, I think his quote was, it was pretty point and shoot. He didn't have to think about it. So it was cool to see, you give guys putters during the week, and, if it looks good, and, it's hard to trust. A lot of times they need those reps back home to really put it in play. And then when he put it in that week and, he ended up winning, it was great.
I think him winning with that putter immediately like that, I think that is it says so much, because if you think about his career with that OS putter that he's had in the bag forever and a day, like I can't remember the year that came out, something like 13 or 14, I believe that putter came out. And what he did at the Open Championship with that putter, that's like one of the best performances we've seen with a putter in modern history. For him to go like that, put it in and win, I mean, that's about as good of a commercial as you can possibly have, right?
Yeah,
unbelievable.
exactly.
So,
well, James, I know you're a very busy man. Thanks so much for taking time today.
I have one more important question. James, Can you get that man
we
right
go.
there? Can you send him a 38-inch counterbalance left-handed putter? Because I heard in the Canadian marketplace we're not going to see that in quite some time.
Ooh,
Is that
lefty.
true?
You know, you might have to qualify for a PGA Tour event, and then if
What
you're
if I
out there,
just
I'll
show
bring
up at
you
one?
one.
Because
Yeah,
I'm at
maybe.
like 20 a year for PGA Tour radio.
maybe
if I just come find you, will you give me one?
Maybe I'll bring like a Harmon reject, and it'll fall off the truck or something.
Perfect.
Oh.
You know what? I'm totally. I'm not above being a Brian Harmon reject. I'll take
fine,
that. Yep.
We can add that to your resume, Mark. That's awesome. But James, thanks so much for taking time and really enjoyed the story. It's another home run by TaylorMade, and all the best here going forward.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, guys.